Good morning. I'm Trudy Mededorp, and I've been around here a long time, more than half my life. I first joined FCC in 1981 when I married my husband Dale, and we immediately found many ways to get involved here, starting with Fellowship Circle. In 1990, we joined Vestry Choir together to celebrate that we'd quit smoking. We took many trips to Pine Ridge to serve the Lakota people, and we also worked hard at leading Community Service Day projects locally. We became Stephen ministers. We have loved being part of worship services and extraordinary celebrations at historic moments in this church, honoring the work of beloved pastors as they left, including others that came, honoring them when they arrived, honoring people who were just becoming pastors, many ordainments, one of those being our own daughter, Reverend Jessica Pallas. There is a loving, living, caring spirit here, willing people. So I guess you could say that this church has impacted my life and my family's life in immeasurable ways. It has been an anchor and a blessing to me, and we have always been reliable contributors. And yes, in the 40 years plus that we were members, we served on a few ministries. Dale was a great handyman, engineer, very dedicated and persistent, and he usually took a project to its completion. He spent many years on the facilities ministry, and he knew this church very well, from the boiler to the belfry. As his beloved wife, I had the privilege of sharing some of his adventures. Once, I got to stand on the roof up near the air conditioner. I also took my turn at dumping dehumidifier tanks down in the old fellowship hall after hard rains would flood it. I witnessed the deconstruction of Haskins Chapel, the place where we were married. I heard tales of how complicated it is to change the light bulbs in the sanctuary. I do remember that Dale thought the toughest physical job he did for the church was helping with the construction of a big white tent that we put out on the lawn as the alternative gathering place during COVID. I have been here long enough to remember the installation of the pipe organ and the extensive expansion after we sold Lakeside Center. And I remember those capital campaigns. So you might say I'm working on this one to honor Dale's sweat equity over the years. But wait, I have to back up a minute. I did tell you when I came to this church, it was a joyful time in my life. I was getting married to Dale. Jessica was 4 years old at the time, and she and I were moving from Johnsburg to join Dale and his 3 children at their home in Crystal Lake. So along with joy and anticipation, there was a lot of change and adjustment in the future for all of us. Please, raise your hand if you've ever been part of a step family. It's a big process. You're stepping into each other's lives midstream, not really knowing all the ins and outs of where they came from and what experience they had and how it affected them and how they view life and what their triggers are and what hurts them and how to love them. And will they love you back? Now, the bride and groom have gotten to know each other quite well. But this ongoing thing with new kids is a leap of faith. Little by little, you learn all the facets of how to live together. But it takes time. Building trust takes time. Kids are not so good at expressing their needs or even knowing them, and they keep changing. So full of surprises. So you do your best. You share. You pray. You forgive. You stick with it. So here's what I wanted to tell you. I think I personally grew into parenting in parallel with growing into First Congregational Church. All that stuff about figuring it out, planning, listening, learning, taking it on faith and giving it a try, it's the same here. We at FCC are a blended family on a much larger scale. We have stepped into each other's lives, midstream, into the life of the church as an entity. And we face a lot of unknowns. Sometimes you think you got to the party late and you need to spend time catching up. But during that process of getting to know one another and trust one another, the same patterns emerge. When we fumble, we help each other up and start again, a little smarter. We grow and change. We pivot and adapt. This church should be proud of our history doing that, especially during COVID. But what we do know, without a doubt, is that we all believe in the power of love. My commitment to FCC is pretty much on par with that to my family. This church has given me a safe place of support and reassurance as I navigated my life, and it still does. It has provided deep friendships and meaningful work. It has stretched my faith and opened doors to opportunities for new experiences, and it still does. This is a place where we are invited and expected to study, to think, act, care, and go forward with love. We continue to evolve, building our future day by day, open and hopeful about what God has in store for us. That's why I'm working toward the success of our capital campaign. I want this church building to remain a home base for resilient congregations for years to come. Someone I visited about FCC said, "It's my lifeline." Yes, I feel that way too. Thank you.